March 1st, 1868, University of Virginia, Taylor and Tazewell, garnet and gold. You may remember those details from your pledge days at Pike. Back in 1868, when your university was founded, the U.S. landscape was covered in architecture styles such as neoclassical, antebellum, Greek Revival, neo-Gothic. Tall columns, wide stairways, gargoyles staring down at you from the top of rooftops. Go to any colonial city on the eastern seaboard today and you'll still see many of these old buildings. For example, the Customs House in Charleston, South Carolina, or the St. Patrick's Cathedral up in New York City. Now, although only a few of you in here are architecture majors, and some of you may actually have an interest in architecture, the preservation of historic buildings and monuments is important to us all. Say, for example, once you guys all grow up and settle down a little bit, say you and your future wife, future kids, decide to take a trip to Charleston, South Carolina, where the first shot of the Civil War was fired from the battery onto Fort Sumter in the Bay. Now, if Charleston didn't have such strict historical preservation and building codes, instead of being able to take a picture of the cell where Blackbeard was held when they captured him off the coast, you might be taking a picture of a basement in a McDonald's. Why such an interest in historic buildings, you ask? Well, I grew up overseas in Europe and Asia, where I had the privilege of visiting gold-plated roofs and palaces. I got to see the Hagia Sophia in Istanbul, the pyramids of Giza, got to ride horses there. When I moved to the United States at age 13, we moved to a suburb of Houston, Texas, Katy, where we were surrounded by cookie-cutter homes, car dealerships, fast food restaurants, and that's about it. It was quite a culture shock for me, even at age 13. So hopefully, after today, you will see that a love of architecture and historical preservation is not just for old men in top hats with monocles and their little pipes. Now, here's why you should have a vested interest in preserving old buildings and monuments. First, they're amazing to look at and can give a city a sense of historical culture. Although some sites and monuments have a dark past or dark connotation, they still have tremendous value today. For example, what was once a slave trading market at the harbor in downtown Charleston is today a market where people of all backgrounds come to buy, sell, and trade goods daily. Now, these sites can also serve as a reminder to us what once was and will never be again. And yes, I do love Charleston, South Carolina. I actually had the privilege of being stationed there for 4 years when I was in the military, and still make frequent visits back. Now, as a result of having an attractive city, you're going to attract tourists. For those of you in here that are business and economics majors, that means more hotels, more restaurants, more shops, more employees, and as a result, increased tax revenue. Also, home values will increase as more people move in towards your beautiful city or in the surrounding areas as property values go up. SavingPlaces.org is a nonprofit preservation society, and they quoted Jane Jacobs, who was an urban activist and planner back in the 1960s in New York. She said that old ideas can sometimes use new buildings, but new ideas need old buildings. What she was saying was that, for example, new startups, creative places like coffee shops, homey style restaurants, those thrive in old buildings because of the creative setting. Whereas chain restaurants such as McDonald's, nowadays phone shops, etc., they'll do just fine in a strip mall. What can you do, you ask? Well, you can start by taking a day or a weekend trip, go visit some old historic sites and monuments and see if you like it. If you do enjoy it and it's something that you're interested in, you can further help by joining preservation societies like the U.S. Capitol Historic Society or even the Midland, Texas Historic Society. I hope I've been able to pique your interest in preserving old buildings and monuments. If we all work together towards this, There will be sights to see and stories to tell for future generations. Thank you for your time. Rush Pike.